Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Schenkel, and I'm the chair of ANC 2C. And I would like to call this meeting to order at 6:06 p.m. on Tuesday, June 11th. I would like to begin by just, first of all, apologizing for those who are in the room and those who are online at this point. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties with our equipment this evening. So we are kind of using gaffer's tape and pulling it all together, literally. So if you're not able to hear me, please do raise your hand, let me know. We will do our best to make sure that we're talking loudly into the mics. And when we do have presenters presenting this evening, if they are not online with us, then we will make sure that we're putting our speakers close here so that you can hear us. I'd like to first roll call. We currently have in the room with me Commissioner Strauss.
Yes, hello. Presenting 2C downtown Casey.
And we have Commissioner Lee.
Commissioner, this is Thomas Lee of 2CO3 representing the National Mall and Penn Quarter.
And I'm Mike Schenkel, again, representing Chinatown and Penn Quarter as well. We have 3 of 3 commissioners present this evening. So we do have a quorum. If you do recall, we are missing 1 commissioner. That seat is currently vacant until January 1st. There'll be elections that will be happening, of course, in November, in which individuals can run for that seat, which would be that would be the first opportunity to run to fill that seat. I'd like to quickly review today's agenda with us. Sorry, it's so much easier when I have things where I normally have them. Let's see here.
Girls, I'll make you.
Okay. For tonight's agenda, we are going to do some community announcements where we will hear from MPD 2. MPD 1, I believe, is not able to be present this evening, but we'll wait and see if we have someone who is able to join us. I did receive a notice from Captain Harabach that he was not able to attend. We will hear from the mayor's office, Brooke Pinto's office. We will have a presentation from the downtown DC bed, which may be a little later on our agenda this evening, as there was a meeting conflict. So we'll be bringing maybe Lucas in a little later than normal. We also do have a special guest this evening, where we'll hear from the Chief of Staff from the DC Department of Human Services.
Dry your hands in the paper now.
Thomas, I need you to mute for me, please. I'm sorry. We will be hearing from David Ross, Chief of Staff from the DC Department of Human Services. Under local events that impact the community, we do have 3 items of business this evening that we will review, and you can see those on your screen there. We do have agendas also in the room this evening. We also have 3 APCA licenses that are currently in consideration. And we have only one item related to DDOT public transportation, and that is the item number 2 on our agenda, the parking removal along Massachusetts. The first item has been deferred to our July 9th meeting. Are there any, commissioners, are there any other additions or corrections to the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda as written.
I will second that. And all those in favor, if you could acknowledge. Okay, I have 3 of 3 commissioners acknowledging to approve the agenda. We did not receive our minutes from our last meeting from our minute-taking company. So we will defer the approval of those minutes until our next meeting. Let me stop sharing my screen here. How do I stop sharing my screen? Well, I have lost my little icon to stop sharing my screen. It is Dramaville this evening.
Can't see your screen.
You cannot see my screen. Okay,
Oh,
thank you
okay.
so much, Lauren. I appreciate that very much. Whew. Could you see my screen at all when I was going through the agenda?
I could not.
Okay, well, that was, thank you. I guess that's why I can't stop sharing. So I do appreciate that. Are there any other community additions to the agenda? There are none. We will move forward.
Sorry, I wrote in the chat. I'm
Oh,
here
I'm
to
sorry.
present for Words Beats and Life.
I'm sorry. Matsi?
Yeah, Mazi, I wrote in the chat. I requested to be added to the agenda to present for the Public Art Building Community Grant letter of support.
The letter of support. I believe I have you are on the agenda.
Okay, I didn't see it because,
Yes.
sorry, I'll be quiet.
That's okay. Those of you who are online, you can also access our agenda at anc2c.us. And our agenda is posted there as well. We'll move forward with our treasurer's report. Thomas, do you have a treasurer's report for us?
Yes, I do. We started the month with, let's see. It's the last statement balance that I have here is we started with $67,599.58. A check cleared in the amount of $750 on June 3rd, 2024, and that was for the translation services at the downtown Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force meeting at the library. And that cleared on the 3rd of June. And we now have an available balance of $66,849.58.
Got it. Terrific. Thank you for that. And I'm assuming that at our next meeting, we will approve fiscal year 3 financial report.
Yes, that's right.
Got it. Terrific. Thank you for that. Moving forward with our community announcements. We have first up MPD 2, and I believe I saw Lieutenant Garvin on there this evening. Yes.
Hey, Mr. Schenkel.
Hey.
Good evening to everyone. First up, we did have an increase in our ADWs near our club zone areas. So right now, we have amped up our visibility in those particular areas. We know the weather's changed and we have more people coming out. And some are involved in criminal activity, which is leading to some of our shootings. In one particular shooting, we were able to actually apprehend the suspect near the scene, and we were also able to locate the weapon that was used. In addition, we have our thefts are down, but also our theft from autos are slightly increasing. due to two things. One is we have criminals targeting work vans again. Those tools, they're coming after those tools that people get from Home Depot and Lowe's and things of that nature. And I'm sure they're selling them, or they may have some type of fence. They're
125.
they have some type of fence where they are getting rid of those too. So we have been trying to have officers where they see construction workers in a particular area, they will go make contact with them just to make sure, listen, make sure your vehicle is locked. Um, be careful of your surroundings. If you see something, say something. If you see vehicles is kind of circling, just call us. Doesn't hurt to call us. Give us as much information as you can. If you see a tag number, just let us know because they are after those tools. Secondly, we have been doing our motorized vehicles initiatives. We have individuals on mopeds who have been also engaged in the criminal activity. We had a robbery about a week ago where an individual was just walking casually. He had his cell phone in his hand, and a suspect was on the moped, snatched the phone, and just drove off. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of moped enforcement, all around in the area to combat this new phenomenon we're facing. We also have a CCTV expansion, so we do have a new crime camera at 14th Street and P Street. I think that will pay dividends for us, especially with our RTC, our real-time crime center. The more cameras we get, the more real-time information that we can get out when these criminal acts do occur. Anybody else? As far as community outreach, there is a community walk coming up. We have not chose the date just of yet, but Mr. Shanko, I would definitely shoot you an email when that happens. And also, we are having a Sector 3 kickball game, which will include other ANCs, ANC 2F, and a couple of other ones for PSA 207, 208, 209. Anybody interested in that, that will be Saturday, June the 22nd at Stead Field Park, 1625 P Street Northwest at 9 a.m. None of us are professional kickball players, Mr. Shanko, no need to worry. We're just here just to have fun, some community engagement. We're going to do some light stretching. Thomas, if you want to come on out, just come on out. We just have some nice fellowship. I know most of the times we engage is always about crime and what's going on, but it would be good if we all can come together and just laugh a little, joke a little, just have a good time. So I will definitely put that information in the chat. And right now, that's all I have.
Terrific. I have been warming up my kicking leg so that I can come out there. So I look forward to it.
Thank you.
Awesome. It'll be a fun day. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Lieutenant Garvin? Is there any community questions? All right. Hearing that we have none, thank you very much. I appreciate your update. I did want to ask, with the moped enforcement, a lot of that has been just the crackdown on the delivery drivers. Is that a lot of the delivery drivers?
Not just delivery drivers, individuals who are just riding those mopeds illegally.
Yeah.
They're not registered. A lot of them are stolen. So yeah, we're trying to get a hold on that. Absolutely.
Great. Well, I noticed that when the word got out that enforcement was happening, I've seen mopeds decrease in the last couple of days. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your being here. I do not believe that I have anybody on from MPD 1 this evening. Captain Harnbach emailed me a little while ago and was not able to attend this evening. He had something that came up that prevented him from being here. So we'll move forward with the office of the mayor's office, the Ward 2 Mayor's Liaison. Christopher Powell, are you on with us?
Hi, yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm attempting to share my screen if that's possible. Is that working?
Yes, we can see the screen.
Perfect. Well, again, hi everyone, Christopher Powell with the Mayor's Office. I have a few quick updates for you. First off, happy Pride. This past Saturday, the mayor and a lot of her team were taking part in the Pride Parade, Capitol Pride Parade, and it was a great success. Everyone had a good time. DPW did an amazing job afterwards cleaning up the trash. I know a lot of us saw some of the pictures, but we also were excited to test out a new route ahead of World Pride next year, and everyone's pretty happy to see that it went well. Additionally, earlier in the month, on Monday, June 3rd, Mayor Bowser and community members kicked off LGBTQIA Pride celebrations with a flag raising at the John A. Wilson Building. The second annual raising of the Progress Pride flag, which highlights Mayor Bowser and the district's continued dedication to the LGBTQ community. Under Mayor Bowser's leadership, the district continues to invest in and expand support for the community. This year's budget also includes $5.25 million to support World Pride in 2025, which will coincide with the 50th anniversary of the first Pride Parade in the district. This internationally recognized event is expected to bring over 2 million visitors to the district. We're excited about those tax dollars there. On Wednesday, June 5th, Mayor Bowser attended a career day at Barnard Elementary School in Ward 4. During the event, Mayor Bowser shared her personal career journey with the soon-to-be sixth graders, emphasizing the importance of civil service and public leadership. Preparing students for the transition from elementary to middle school is a priority in the DC Public Schools 5-year strategic plan and capital commitment from 2023 to 2028. Cool new update from DPW. They're recently started a new pilot program aimed at getting high-dollar scofflaw vehicles off of district streets. And they've identified and towed more than 75 vehicles with more than $645,000 unpaid tickets, and separately booted more than 840 vehicles, representing 1.6 million in unpaid fines. The Department of Public Works initiative is a part of an ongoing effort to enforce roadway safety and uphold traffic regulations under the Vision Zero strategy. DPW will soon procure an additional impound lot, which can store approximately 300 vehicles, and this will enable DPW's parking enforcement teams to tow more scofflaw vehicles from the roadways. And that should be great for the city moving forward. Just another quick blurb that crime continues to trend downwards. Violent crime is down around 25%, and overall crime around 15% year to date from last year around this time. So we're happy to see that continue to go down. And then some quick upcoming events. Late Night Hype is coming up on Friday, June 14th, 7 p.m. at Kennedy Rec Center there in Ward 2. That should be fun in conjunction with MPD and city resources, food games. There'll be a foam party. That should be a good time. And then, as I'm sure you guys are well aware, on the roof of MLK Library, go-go concerts every Sunday this month from 1 to 5 p.m. So keep that in mind. They've got some great acts, local bands. And then information about Mokers, if you're interested in reaching out to me, bringing any issues or going on a community walk to identify infrastructure flaws, you can email me at christopher.pal2@dc.gov or call or text me at 202-805-7122. And that's about all I have. I can take any questions if there are any questions.
Thank you so much, Christopher. We appreciate that. Commissioners, do you have questions for the mayor's office? I would just continue to thank the mayor's office for participation in Pride and the dedication to the World Pride, which is coming to DC next year. The new routes, which I was fortunate to walk with my work during the Pride Parade is very, very long. And very, very hot.
It certainly is.
But it was certainly a good event and a great day out there. So thank you for that.
Mhm.
And commissioners, do you have anything else? Are there any community members that have any questions for the mayor's office? I see I have something in line. Oh, gotcha. Awesome. If there are no other questions for the mayor's office,
Oh, wait.
yes.
I have a question for the mayor's office. Hey, Christopher, why is the city buying the National Theater? Is the city going to be operating the theater, or is it going to look for an operator to operate the theater and at a profit?
That I'm not sure about. I can try to ask, maybe get a good answer for you there. If you just
Okay.
give me some time on that. Shoot me a text to remind me, and I'll get back to you, Thomas.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Sure.
thank Thomas for bringing that up. It was actually something that we heard about and were surprised that the investment was being made, considering that we are in such a financial situation as a city, while the cost was an unbelievable discount, I believe. I was just surprised because I had not heard any rumors of this moving forward. So I was just kind of surprised to see it happening.
Certainly, I haven't heard much buzz either, but I'm also curious. So, yeah, I can find out about that, see what I can get for you.
Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll move forward with the office of Ward 2 Councilmember Brooke Pinto. Is Maddie on with us this evening?
Yes, good evening, everyone.
Hi, Maddie.
Everyone can hear me all right?
Yes.
Awesome. So just an update on all things budget for the council currently. The council took their first vote on the FY25 budget on May 29th. They will take their second vote tomorrow, and we expect the third and the final vote sometime before the end of June. Councilmember Pinto has worked extremely closely with Chairman Mendelson and her council colleagues to restore, find, and protect funding for public safety needs, downtown investments, small business supports, education and youth initiatives, affordable housing, and supporting our seniors and our LGBTQ plus community. The budget does include two notable tax increases, both of which Councilmember Pinto does not support. The first tax is for employers to pay more as part of a payroll tax. So currently, employers are paying a tax of 0.26% of the wages of each of its covered employees. Under Mayor Bowser's proposal, payroll tax will go up to 0.62%. And under the chairman's proposal, it will go up to 0.75% of taxes. So the second tax is specific for residential property, specifically targeting any home that is valued over $2.5 million. So currently, each residential property is subject to taxation at a rate of 85 cents for every $100 of its assessed value. So under Chairman Mendelson's proposal, the first $2.5 million will be taxed at the current rate, but then anything over $2.5 million will be taxed at a rate for $1 for every $100 of its assessed value. So that gets into the nitty-gritty of taxes, but basically, if you have a home that is $2.75 million, you'll be paying an additional $375 annually. However, if you own a home that is $20 million, you'll pay an extra $26,000, about $26,000 annually. So you can see those increases there. But Councilmember Pinto believes that the council has a responsibility to balance the needs of residents in all neighborhoods while remaining conscientious that we have to remain a competitive place to live and work, so that when folks are deciding whether they want to live here in the district or over in Maryland or Virginia. So despite the council members' opposition to these taxes, the amount that the chairman ended up including in his budget really prevented a larger increase that many of her council colleagues were contemplating adding in. So all of that being said, I would like to focus on some of the really great things in the budget. And I'll start with public safety. So first, the council member funded critical components of her Secure DC Omnibus Plan. This funds more funding for sworn officers for MPD. This will ensure faster response times and increased patrols. Fully restored funding cuts to access to justice and victim services grants, which provides our low-income residents with legal services and protections during housing or unemployment crises. We invested in safe passage and violence interruption programs to prevent violence before it occurs and prepare for the merging of violence intervention programs across our city. It also funded the Violence Prevention and Response Team through the Mayor's Office of LGBTQ plus Affairs, and funded enforcement provisions of the STEER Act, which promotes accountability for dangerous drivers on our streets. Specifically related to downtown, the council members' bill, the BEST Act, is fully funded to completely revamp and streamline our business licensing process. We also funded office to residential and office to mixed use conversions from her bill, the Recovery Act, to bring people and attractions downtown, and continued funding for retail recovery grants that she established in the budget last year that focuses on activating vacant space, and investments to WMATA to ensure safe and reliable transit across our region. Specifically for young people and families, helped restore the Pay Equity Fund, which ensures that our early childhood educators receive adequate and dignified compensation for their vital work. We funded literacy training and coaching for our kindergarten teachers to improve literacy outcomes for students, restore the attend and stand up, stand out truancy programs to ensure that our kids have supports they need to stay in and get safely to class. In terms of addressing our homelessness challenges, the council member helped fund 368 new permanent supportive housing vouchers in the budget and funds to repair the Aston non-congregate bridge housing, which will be opening in the West End. Some other wins are securing $30 million for a future Ward 2 Senior Wellness Center. This will also include housing for LGBTQ plus seniors. Secured $1 million for the completion of the LGBTQ plus center, which is moving from the 14th and U area over to 7th and S Street Northwest in Ward 2, which is right over by Howard Theater. And $5 million to support World Pride and 2025, which we are so excited about. The other one I wanted to mention was the public restroom pilot program. This began just last week in Ward 2 and will be extended into the next year. You can now visit a Throne public restroom in Ward 2. And we've also included some funding for ANC's communication contracts and restored a cut from the mayor's office that they have made for ANC technical assistance and supports there. Another update I wanted to give was on the circulator. I know many constituents are reaching out to support WMATA absorbing the circulator routes that will likely be cut. We are working on this and are hoping to see WMATA absorb those routes. So if you are concerned about it being ended, please submit your feedback to WMATA as part of their Better Bus Network survey and ask them to take over these routes. I know Christopher gave a brief update on DPW and efforts to step up the booting and towing process of vehicles that are legally parked. They're using this really cool license plate recognition system that allows parking enforcement to read license plates as they're driving around in their patrol cars. We had a recent sweep in Ward 2, specifically in the Georgetown area. This resulted in 46 cars being booted, and just the 46 cars resulted in $92,000 of payment in outstanding fines, which is a lot. So we expect improvements to DPW as they try to get that new lot and hire additional employees. In terms of the task force, the Gallery Place Chinatown Task Force worked with urban planners and designers to generate 8 big ideas about the vision of the future of Gallery Place. I'm going to send the link where folks can continue to add feedback. There's a feedback form, so you can send it around to anyone that maybe wasn't able to attend one of the ANC town halls. Another upcoming event that is happening is DC Health is hosting a free 2-day rodent control academy. This will be at GW on July 10th and July 11th. Registration is limited, but you can join virtually, and everyone says that this training is absolutely fantastic. So I will share those details as well in the chat in case anyone has interest in becoming a rodent control expert. Next week, June 17th, DPW is conducting a great graffiti wipeout in wards 2 and 3 specifically. So if you're noticing any graffiti around the area, you can submit photos of the locations to 311 before June 17th so that DPW can be sure to get out there and get rid of that graffiti in the area. And the next office hours event, the Councilmember Pinto is having a Pride office hours in Logan Circle at the Little Gay Pub. This will be Wednesday, June 26th at 5 p.m., which will hopefully be a really nice way to end Pride Month. I'll stop there and take any questions. Happy Pride.
Thank you. Thank you so very much for that really great overview of everything that's happening and all the budget implications that Councilmember Pinto has advocated for. I think that's really, really awesome. Do you know why it seems like, I know this is a booting initiative, but do you know were they just not doing this in the past, that it's been so high? Like these 62 cars and $92,000, that's crazy.
Yes. I think it was a coordinated effort from both the council member's office, the mayor's office, and DPW to really get coordinated specifically on this issue and really identify spaces in which there is a lot of illegal parking. So this one was specifically in the Georgetown area, which the ANC was heavily involved in identifying this area as a place where there's constant illegal parking, and all together was a really coordinated effort to kind of vamp this up and hopefully continue that as we go.
Got it. Thank you very much. Council commissioners, do you have any questions?
Yeah, you can hear me, right? Yeah. So it's actually something that a constituent brought to my attention, that the old Balance Gym building in Green Court. Wondering if you know, like, does Brooke Pinto know plans for that building? We've heard rumors of a single male shelter. It's directly next to a senior living facility. Do you know anything about that?
don't have specific details about that building, but I can definitely take it back to the council member. And I do think that later today there'll be a presentation specifically on shelters in the area. So that might answer some of our questions as well.
Any community questions for Councilmember Pinto's office? Nancy?
Yes.
Oh, could you grab the mic there? Yeah.
You said something about a senior center for Ward 2 and housing for GLBT elders. I live in the seniors building right next to that literally physically abuts the Green Court building. And we would love to see that as a use for that building, not a get shelter in the alley. It's still a challenging property because it's landlocked by 2 alleys. But what is the funding for the senior center for senior housing, and where is that addition to be?
Were you able to get that, Maddie?
I think I got most of it. I know that it's $30 million. I don't know the specific location that they were thinking of, but I like your recommendation of that specific area and can absolutely bring that back to our team that's working on this. But I do know that it'll be $30 million that will go towards that initiative, and super excited to see that included.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Please. We have another question. And please do watch the cord.
So this may have been covered, but what in terms of shelters, you mentioned something about a new shelter that will open, and if so, whether that is done in the occupancy level will be. And second is, as a resident in this neighborhood, I have seen for, in the last 2 years, students 47th Street between D and H Street, that the sidewalks are really quite dirty. I know COVID obviously has an impact on all of us in the Birmingham government, but we can provide some insights as to what the plan is for having sidewalks, knowing, of course, that some of that property is privately owned, and so in those cases, it can be up to the owners of those sidewalks to take care of the situation. Thank you.
Got it. I'm going to repeat the
That
question.
would be great. Thank you. I'm so sorry I missed most of it.
Realize it was not broadcasting, and I apologize again because of our technical issues. There are 2 questions at hand, I believe. One related to shelter and potential location, and I do not think a potential location has been identified for the senior shelter. We have a presentation. Oh, the youth shelter. I'm sorry. Youth shelter. I'm sorry. Is there a specific location for youth shelter?
Thank you for the question. I am not familiar with this specific location, but I can definitely circle back over email with you all after.
Well, we do have a presentation from DHS on shelters in a few minutes where those questions may be more relevant. And the second question was around cleaner sidewalks in specifically on D Street, 7th and D area. That's
D Street. H on 7th, so 7th between D and H.
7th between D and H. Is there any initiative that you're aware of related to cleaner initiatives there? And some of those properties are privately owned properties, et cetera.
Absolutely. So you said 7th at D and between H. Is that Is that correct? Just so I have it. Okay, so I can definitely reach out over to the downtown DC bid team. They do an excellent job specifically at really cleaning up those areas in terms of like trash, if that's what is the issue, or if it's a different type of either pedestrian safety issue or anything like that, then we can reach out over to DDOT. But what is exactly the issue, like cleanliness and trash? Litter.
Litter.
Okay.
Hey, this is Lucas from the downtown bid. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Lucas.
I briefly heard 7th and D litter, so I stepped away real quick from the other meeting. We have our teams out daily. 7th and D tends to be a high traffic area, but we'll make sure that we keep a lot of focus on that area in general. Is it litter on the ground? Is it overflowing trash cans?
All of the above.
Okay. I'll make sure that my team puts a lot more focus on that area. 7th and D and 7th and H. Is that what you said? D as in dog. Is that correct?
That's a prominent area. Certainly I see other sidewalks, and this is on a regular basis that are on good condition. I'm thinking like, pre-COVID and after COVID, again, there is an impact on budget and so forth, but because those are very traveled streets and because there were a lot of tourists, but even if the tourists weren't here, there were a lot of people that businesses who work here, who live here. And I would, I know that many of my neighbors have noticed saying that the level of cleanliness is way down.
Yeah.
Oh,
It seems to be that is one area, but there are some other areas that are around where people heavily frequent and walk. And there's a general sense of some continued dirtiness of the streets with trash and other items.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry about the technical issues here. Again. All right. Thank you so much, Maddie. We appreciate you being here.
Oh, Maddie, and congratulate the Councilwoman Pinto on her winning the Democratic primary.
Awesome. We will move forward now with a presentation from David Ross, the Chief of Staff from the DC Department of Human Services, sorry. And this is specifically related to shelter operations. And yes, this might be the best approach for you. Thank you. We're gonna.
So as I
Could you activate your mic there?
Thank you. Hello. Okay. So as I prepare to pull up our slide deck for today, I will make two points of clarity. So I am merely the opening act for Mr. For our service administration. Fifth Street and 11th Street. Mr. will provide. I did want to address the question about grade.
What? Hey, could I hate to ask this, but would you mind switching me places and talking at this computer?
So Anthony is going to actually speak, and I'm going to run it from the seat. I just wanted to come and introduce.
Oh, sure.
Record.
Got it. Because I think they can hear with the microphone better here.
So it's the microphone on the computer that's the only thing that's going out. Because the tech is broken.
Yeah.
If you're all moving,
Here.
then
Let's just you could talk at this computer. How's that? We're trying to resolve here a second. Here. Put this back in here. I'm sorry. So sorry.
Not a problem.
maybe. You're like, there we go. Sorry about that. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
All right.
So can you hear me? Don't know where to talk.
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Just talk at the computer.
Okay, can you hear me loud and clear? All righty. So, yes, we are doing a better job of projecting out our infrastructure investments through 2028. And we have shared at an ICH, Interagency Council on Homelessness meeting in May, that we do project bringing Green Court online in 2026. And so that's about 2 years out. And as we get further along in our planning and details, as we are tonight, we commit to coming to you, sharing what those details are right now, because it is 2 years out. There are thoughts that will probably change 12 times in the next 2 years. So we want to be mindful of where's a sweet balance of sharing in advance, but recognizing many things change and wanting to remain transparent while also addressing, well, Mr. Ross, that's not what you said 6 months ago, because that was the case 6 months ago and things have changed now. So I want to honor to address, yes, Green Court is part of our plan in 2026. And as plans are confirmed and solidified, we will come back out as we are tonight to make you all aware of that.
So will we be involved only after it's confirmed? Or can we be involved in the conversation about what will happen?
In terms of whether we will use the building or not use the building?
Well, you said 2026 come online, like it will. So when will it be decided about what to do in 2025?
So we know we're going to make use of the building, but budget and other issues, it will come online in 26.
Okay. But in terms of what kind of use? You won't know.
It will come online as a shelter to support our continuum.
Okay, but is it for single men or seniors or LGBTQ?
Right now, it's for singles. Our families use family-style shelters that are already pre-built in the community after we close DC General. So we know today, the intended plan is for single, I believe, male use, but that's today, June 11th, 2024. Okay. So at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Newman, who will lead the discussion about our updates, and then we both will join you all to answer questions.
Sorry to speak there. Sorry about this. I apologize.
We use Teams and we build it every day.
I'm gonna jump away from you so I don't feel like I'm sitting right on top of
It's
you.
totally fine. Okay, what mic am I using? This mic? Or any mic?
This, use them both.
Use them both, all right.
This mic is broadcasting to the audience here. The computer is broadcasting to the people.
Okay, very good. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, so if there's some difficulty with my voice, just someone will give me a high hand. Thank you again. My name is Anthony Newman. I am the Deputy Administrator for Singles in the District of Columbia. My portfolio includes all the men's, women's single shelters, as well as street outreach and some other engagements. But by and large, we're talking about shelters and outreach. As soon as I see the slide deck come back up, we'll continue on. But I will say what I'm here to talk about today is to change. There we go. 2 shelters that are coming on board that we think you will want to know about is one, the reopening of Pat Handy shelter for women, and the future plans for the 11th Street, what we've referred to it as the swing space building, where the Pat Handy program is currently. Going forward, we go to slide 4. So in the starting first with the 5th Street Pat Handy location. From the time that the women left, a lot of you know, it became a temporary shelter that we were using as an overflow site, for lack of a better word, for men. The men were vacated and the building has been under remodeling since, which was the original plan for the building. Amongst the remodeling efforts that took place in the building includes, most importantly, elevator repair. They did repairs to the walls and drywalls. There was flooding in the building from time to time. The security infrastructure has been upgraded. Administrative offices have been remodeled. Furniture that was in disrepair has been replaced, and the building has sort of had an internal refreshment. All of that was done so that we can bring the women back who were displaced when we moved them to 11th Street. When the women come back, what will Pat Handy look like? Some of you who may remember from before the pandemic, which seems like a million years ago now, Pat Handy will operate as a low barrier shelter for women as it had before. Unlike before, it will operate 24/7, which is our current standard for our shelter system. It'll provide shelter for the same residents that it was providing for before, which will include 125 low barrier beds. Those are first come, first served beds for women who are in need of emergency shelter. And we will bring back 30 beds for specialty case beds. That will include senior beds for senior, a mix of senior beds, work beds, women who have jobs, and sick beds. The difference is between those is when you're in the specialty programs, case management is required as part of being able to hold those beds and stay in those. And case management is the tool we use mostly to move people from shelter into permanent housing. With respect to the low barrier beds, while case management isn't required, we strongly encourage and we are motivated to motivate folks to take advantage of it. That is the operational goal. So you're going to see the audience will be a different sort of folks who were there when the men were there. Okay. Timeline. The renovations will be complete at some point this summer. If you're over in Fifth Street, you might even see some of the construction workers finishing up their work. In Street Village was the provider for Pat Handy in the old space. They're the provider for Pat Handy in the swing space, and they will continue to follow the program into the new space. They will start reoccupying the building, we think, at this point, some point about late summer. That's the timeline. That's subject to change if, again, we're going off construction schedules, but where we sit now, late summers when In Street will start reoccupying the building. And then after that, the women will follow probably right now in early fall. We haven't put an exact month because again, it's subject to construction. So I would guess September, but I don't want to say that for sure because that could also mean not. Okay. With that said, I'm going to pivot a little bit to talk about what happens in the building that the In Street program is in now, and that is the 11th Street. Stop. Pop record. Absolutely. Yeah, let's pause there because that's a lot. It has a lot of information. So before we talk about that, yeah, are there any questions? And I'm not sure how to address questions on the.
I'm looking.
Okay. Or are you you're the question master?
Yes. I don't believe that I don't see any questions at the moment from any audience members. Anybody in the room, do you have questions? Okay. Awesome.
Okay.
Businesses and residential people. Have they been included?
And
The question that was asked were businesses and residents involved in these decisions.
so I would say the couple things to answer that is one, this is our presentation, and we're starting to engage folks with being here tonight to let folks know this is what the plan is. And at the end, you'll see there's a few slides about how our chief of staff and his staff will continue to engage any groups necessary as we go forward. And there'll be a way we can reach out to that. We often have a pretty comprehensive reach out plan whenever we open up a shelter, identifying just what you're asking, businesses, business groups, homeowners associations. This is our first introduction to the community of what's going to happen this summer. David, do you want to add anything to that?
Um, Chief of Staff Ross indicated that he is coming to engaging both the ANC Commission, the council member, and others in discussions around identifying if there are other stakeholders and answering questions that may emerge as the process happens. Yeah. Yes.
Don't pretend to think that this is going to be a smooth event. That's different from the executive. It's best possible to ensure as smooth as possible transition. Just be very upfront, listening to concerns. Being very clear about what is within our control to change and change. Be very clear about what is happening. I do appreciate that.
Hang on one second.
But I don't know how long it will take for the minutes of this meeting to make public view. It's very difficult on the ANC website, get anything younger than the last 3 years.
Would it help if we commit to coming to your next meeting and maybe get an opportunity to prove, so to speak, to let folks know we came here and make sure that more people get the opportunity to hear, and if that's what you're like,
Sure, that would be great. That'd be great. I appreciate your feedback. The meeting was duly noticed to the community for individuals to engage. I have received no emails about the shelter since the agenda has been published.
I mean, no disrespect.
No. I'm just responding. No. I'm just responding. Yes. Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Nothing.
okay. Yeah, it's in the old hostel. It's where the hostel off of Mass. I want to say K and 11. Right, exactly. Between K and L. Yep.
That's what they are now. We're going to the space of Fifth and H.
Fifth and H.
We're part of the new burger place.
That is?
Yeah. I saw another hand.
Yes, ma'am.
The next meeting, not for this one, because I feel like there's a full agenda this evening, but I think it would be good to have some information at the next presentation regarding what the process would be used for this first come, first served.
Oh.
Intake.
Oh, I can answer that. Yeah. Yeah, certainly. I can address that now. So the way low barrier shelter, so we have different classifications of shelters. You have temporary shelters, for example, which as I mentioned before, require case management. Then we have what we call our low barrier shelters. And in our low barrier system, that really is providing beds for any man or woman who needs a bed tonight. Usually in the evenings, if you remember before, like the women will show up, and basically is if you were there the night before, the bed that you had, you'll be reassigned that same bed. After they do a count of who's came back from the night before, then the rest of the beds are then sort of put in a list and they take them off the queue, first serve, first come, first serve for those remaining beds. So it's not completely first come, first serve in the sense that if I was here last night, I lose my bed tonight. If I was here last night, I keep the bed. And so with the impact of 24/7 on that has been that people, even though they're not leaving the building, there's still a daily count where we have to sort of go through and it's like, who's here at a particular time? And that way we'll know if the bed's available for that evening. Mhm.
Where is the queue? Outside the sidewalk. Is there queue space?
In the, yeah, so it really depends on that question. For this building, it will likely be outside because of the design of the building. And some of our other shelters where we have space, sort of, for example, in our new shelter we built for men in the Southeast at the 801 Men's Shelter, that has a space on the inside so we can queue up. When one of our future shelters, when it gets remodeled, say, in the New York Avenue shelter some years out, that will also have an ability to queue on the inside. But this being an older building, we didn't address that in the remodel.
Person could report, has no exterior space.
Well, I mean, I don't want to, yeah.
Private property.
So, and I don't want to get too far to Green Quarter, but the difference with Green Quarter is this is lower. Yeah, so if you are someone who is unhappy and it's a cold night and I put this, regardless if you are experiencing a behavioral health crisis, regardless of substance, if you are looking for somewhere to sleep tonight, come inside. That's it. Green Quarter, similar to our approach, if I'm correct, with Aston and E Street, and that is not local. We are looking to create specialized houses where there is a process to apply and seek approval.
That would be very, very reassuring to all of us on the block. It's not just my memory care residents, we're literally on the second floor next to it. But it's businesses, it's multiple private apartment buildings, it's office buildings that front on Hill Street. It's a very dangerous alley back there. It's already parking garage right there.
Yeah.
You can understand why they're very concerned.
So
The-
what we're talking about, green space is let's all go line up to see if we can get in tonight. You will know by your case manager, you've been approved for green space.
Okay, so we're talking case manager.
Yeah.
Required.
And non-congregate?
No, congregate.
It's not congregate.
It would be congregate. It would be congregate.
So the questions that have been asked were related to what is a low barrier shelter? What is a high, what is the
Well, so high barrier.
high
We don't
barrier?
use that term.
Yeah, it's what is a non-high, a
Not-
non-low barrier? And the Green Court location that was being discussed earlier will be a higher threshold to get people in, which would include that they would have to be in case management to access that shelter. It would not necessarily be a first come, first serve type shelter, but it would be people that would be placed there in a special housing location.
I would like to just add at this point, I think as David said earlier, Green Court from a planning perspective is, from a neighbor's perspective, I think we're taking in your feedback that there's concern. I think we're hearing that. From a planning perspective, it's not the building we're focused on at the moment, nor the next building, because we have literally 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 shelters and a limited staff.
But for our ANC, this is what.
But this is.
So just
note
so that we
taken.
know in definitions, it is people who have been placed there, they already have a case manager, they've already been vetted. And
So-
then congregate means what? specifically?
Yeah, so we have 2 types of, in terms of congregate, there's 2 types of buildings. You have congregate, meaning people who are living together in the common area.
Like a bunk bed.
Like,
situation.
well, ironically, yes, like a bunk bed situation, but not necessarily. In our newer buildings, we're actually moving away from bunk beds as we design and build new buildings as a best practice. But in our older buildings, yeah, you'll still see some bunk beds. in a non-congregate, it'd be one or two folks who live in a room. And the mix of those will really depend on what of the building. So for example, in the Aston building that was mentioned earlier, you're gonna have, that building could have two people of the same sex, two people who are of different sex, adult children, and so it's a different.
Roommates.
It's more like roommates. And so it's different. In a congregate setting, it's you get the bed 5 in the space 5. And that's the way it's going to look. So you can have, with that said, you can still have specialty beds and congregate settings. And that's some of the things that David is talking about is what we're going to be doing with some of the beds in the new Pat Handy. Why would we want to do that? Why would anybody sign up for that? And the answer is, as we talked about that first come, first serve situation, if you're in a program, you're not in that first come, you have your bed. And that's important because if you are, say, working at night and you need a bed, you're not going to be here for checking in. But if you're in a program and a work program, there's no need to check in, your bed will be there. That's sort of nuances to how we designate what beds are. So there'll be some, again, as we get closer to Green Court, I think David mentioned it, we will be much more forthcoming. At this point, because it's so far out in the future, we really just aren't prepared to talk in too much detail about where we're going to go. Other than we have it. Yep.
Really,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
what we're doing.
appreciate, being, honest about where you are, or where you intend to go, and to keep us informed.
Yep, absolutely. And any other questions or?
We should.
Okay, to that end, let's talk about 11th Street. So in the 11th Street location, the swing space location, we have a short-term and a long-term way of thinking about it. Once the women who are in the swing space move back into Pat Handy, the building will be spruced up, renovated. I wouldn't say renovated. They'll be, well, renovated. There won't be a full-scale building remodel, but they're going to do some cleaning up of the building. And as we get closer to that, we should probably talk a little bit what that looks like. We have another program, Madison Women's Program, which is a transitional program. Their building, which is not related to this, that's another building that is going to get some remodeling. Because of the work in that building, we're moving those women into this swing space so that building can be refurbished. That's the plan for that. The Madison program is significantly smaller than the number of spaces for this year. And so we will hopefully utilize the space difference between what Madison uses and what will look like a safe capacity, and use those for beds for hypothermia this season, which essentially will keep the swing space in its, I would say, similar use, except it will have a lot more case management required beds than it does now. So you'll see a little bit of difference. The transitional program at House of Ruth, the Madison shelter is run by the House of Ruth program, House of Ruth provider. It also operates 24/7, and it provides 50 beds for women, adult women who have been experiencing homelessness and affected by trauma. Because of the nature of the transitional program, it will also require case management for those programs as well. Once the building that the Madison program has been remodeled, then the Madison women will move back into their new building. I think that's estimated to be about a year out. So fall of 25, the Madison women have now moved back into their space. What happens then? Currently, as that building is being used now, it is 100% low barrier, which again, as we've talked about, means first come, first serve emergency beds. In the future, what we intend to do is maintain a mix of low barrier beds, but we are going to take some of those beds offline from low barrier and repurpose them also as specialty beds, senior beds, work beds. What we're finding is there is a demand for, it's a balancing act. The DHS needs to provide enough emergency beds so that people who need a bed have a bed. However, we also want to encourage as many folks to take part in case management as we can. And we know that there's a demand for those from our clients who are staying in these shelters. We know there are people working now. We know there's seniors in these beds now. So to the extent that we can provide a resource that makes their transition from homelessness into shelter an easier and more efficient way to do it, we want to do that. At the same time, we don't want to put a system in place where we exclude folks who are in need of an emergency shelter. So going forward, that's the way we're going to be utilizing the new swing space in 25. Instead of being all low barrier as it is now, it'll be a sort of mix and part of our Harriet Tubman replacement for the Harriet Tubman program when that building eventually will go offline permanently. Okay, that is another lot of information. So with that said, I think I'll stop with mission. I will take questions.
Mhm.
Yes, please.
This is Thomas. Regarding the pet handy shelter, just going back to that real quick. When you say it's a 24/7 facility, that means that the residents won't be kicked out in the morning. Then they could stay inside the shelter if that's what they wish to do. Is that correct?
Yeah, although I don't know that I would ever use the word kicked out, but I take your point. Yeah, women won't leave in the morning time if they don't want to. Now, I will say we do encourage constantly that people who are in our shelters, despite the fact there's 24/7, there are a lot of resources that we would rather them take advantage of than just hanging
Right.
around, right? It's like
Right.
jobs, and we have a comprehensive day center network that offers a lot of outreach. So yes, they don't have to leave, but we will make available to them opportunities so that they are encouraged to take care of their needs. But yes, short answer, yes.
So
Thank
we're
you.
going to go back here to ask your question.
Low barrier bed for people who have, for migrants.
So when we take folks in, we don't survey and ask what people's backgrounds are or how they came to be in their situation. So I have no really way of knowing what the immigration status or of anybody would come in our shelters. Yep.
We'll go back back over here. I'll just repeat the question. Is there any kind of laws in place in DC that limit the time that someone can use a shelter? Yeah.
Just for effort, yeah. So in a low barrier shelter, there's no time limit in the District of Columbia for you to vacate low barrier. So if you're needing an emergency bed this year or next year or the year after, and it's often is the case, that's not uncommon with some of our clients, especially those who are experiencing other personal difficulties that make it difficult for them to re-enter in the house. With that said, there are some programs that do have time limits. So for example, if you're in a transitional or temporary program, there could be a time limit that has you moving out, usually within a couple years, 2 years is our limit. And even then, the programs tend to be very flexible. So if you're in a program, say you're at Madison, where there's a 2-year, it's a 2-year program, and you've not been able to move, but boy, are you making good progress, and you're taking care of what you need to do, and you working with case management, and you need a little bit more time. District of Columbia, the Madison program is not going to put you out because a clock went off. That's not the way we do business. At least speaking for the single side. And I'm pretty sure that's close to the family side, though I'm not in a position to speak to families.
And Jim?
Are the people who are coming into
Yeah.
But aren't they subject to drug and alcohol testing, addiction issues, treatment, mental health
Yeah.
and help.
The question asked is, are the individuals who are accessing these shelters, are they subject to drug, alcohol, screening, treatment, mental health care, treatment, having to access those services?
So let's break it down again and talk about low barrier for a second. In our low barrier, well, and let's go a little further. There's what's allowed in the building, and then let's talk about the person. What's allowed in the building, no drugs or alcohol are ever allowed in any of the district shelters. That's a pretty hard rule. And when clients come in, they are screened and scanned. There's often security, and we have various screening techniques depending on the particular building. So as far as what happens in the building, there are no drugs and alcohol. As far as the person, in a low barrier situation, we do not drug test and screen because, again, we're wanting folks to encourage them to come in. However, if you find yourself in a shelter and you find yourself in need of mental health, or if you find yourself in need of drug treatment, we do encourage individuals to work with case managers, and their case manager will connect them to services and wraparound services in order to move folks, give the folks the help they need, because ultimately we want to get people prepared for permanent housing. And oftentimes mental health or other addictions is a barrier to permanent housing. So if you come in and that's determined as a need, then we are going to do what we can. In a low barrier setting, though, that's not necessarily a requirement. And some of our programs, that is a requirement. And if you're in a particular program that's say, for example, we have some shelters that are sober beds, for example. You know, then there would be a requirement to not be on any sort of substances.
Aware that the towns that are also being somewhat might be done for sexual jobs.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. Are those pretty much taken care of as well?
Well, let me say it this way. Our provider network are experts at what they do. And one of the way the district is set up as a government, in some jurisdictions, the government runs the shelters. And the question I'm for those, just as a repeating, is how do we identify and protect women who might be experiencing some sort of exploitation, I think is what you're getting to. If you are in some cities, not the district, but the government would run the shelter, right? It's Department of something or another. In the district, the shelters run through a provider network. And so in the case, for example, in the House of Ruth Madison, they are specialists and experts in dealing with women who've experienced certain types of, say, for example, domestic violence trauma. Catholic Charities is another one that runs Harriet Tubman. So the provider network, you know, this is what they do, and this is why they exist, to serve these types of clients and whatever their needs are. So to answer your question more, and I know that's not a direct answer, but that's how we sort of address and identify and address. Yep.
So I also have two questions to pose. One, from a historical perspective, when the Pat Handy shelter was closing and the movement was happening to 11th Street, we were told that that was happening because of dire need for repairs in that facility, and that it would be a year or less for that to happen. And it has been significantly longer. It took over a year to get permits pulled. How has your process changed since the Pat Handy experience?
I'll answer it to say this. The Department of Human Services, DHS, we are not the agency that pulls permits, and we're not the agency that does constructions. That's our partners at DGS. And so oftentimes what we do is we are adjusting to the schedule as it's presented. But David, I don't know if you want to add something to that.
Yeah, that's sort of the delicate reason why we moved away from using months and entered into seasons, if you pick
Yep.
up on it.
Yep.
Because our projection is, yeah, we want to move residents in September. But when there's an issue with permits or plumbing, or the permit was pulled to just take the wall down, when we took the wall down, who the hell put pipes there? So now we gotta go get a permit to move the pipes. So when that happens, the community thinks it's fine to us, because you said October, and now it's not October, when we can't foresee. We are the people agency, and we rely on our sisters who are the builders. So when there are delays, it is our responsibility, like the bullet, and tell the community there are delays. We want to do so in a way that's not pointing the finger, because it's not DGS's fault that there is an issue with a permit. Those are the types of things that happen. So as, which is what we're talking about, Penn Quarter. What we know today is X, Y, and Z. So the process for requesting permit, all that has remained the same.
Right.
And so what we commit to do is what we know, we will share it with you, and what changes, we will share that with you until we remain abreast.
Thank you for that. I'm wondering, if you're thinking about the shelter, I know we've been talking about a shelter like the Greenport shelter. If you think about a shelter like that, who drives the process? Then is it DHS on what you want in a shelter, or is it DGS? Or wait, is it DHS or is it DGS that says, here's what you're gonna get when we remodel this building?
There are a lot of factors.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
our preference is always, especially the more we learn, is to go into spaces where we can have the most amount of construction and renovation, so that we're creating a space, like you said, if there's a need to queue, can we queue within the building? We're in very austere budget times, and that kind of comes and goes, and so in some situations, there is the ability for construction. In other situations, there is the ability for robust renovations, and in others, there's light renovations. So it's, what does our continuum need? If you all follow the FIT results for 2024, we just released, we've seen some increases in areas, and so that supports why we're needing to expand our footprint, but in ways that support human behavior and not just creating boxes to put people in.
Yes. Yeah.
And I will also say, to add to that too, as part of our stakeholder engagement, we also try to determine what the client's needs and what works. So if we open up a building and we had this great idea that this space was going to be used, and we see that, man, no one is using that space the way we intended, we don't put that same space in the next building, right? And we rethink about how, and oftentimes we'll have all sorts of feedback sessions with any number of stakeholders before we get there.
And the other the hypothermia shelter at the swing space.
Yep.
On 11th Street. I completely understand the need for that. That creates a tremendous amount of anxiety for me, because we saw what the hypothermia center at the former Pat Handy shelter did to the community there. It had tremendous negative impact from the residents who were accessing that facility. How can we have assurance that we're not going to go down a path where that portion of the neighborhood degrades until the shelter closes?
Well, I'll answer it this way. I think I think the concern for having hypothermia shelters is a legitimate concern. And I certainly think DHS, we understand why that would give folks pause. What we have seen, though, with that said, is by and large, our hypothermia sites have by and large never lived up to the worst fears of the neighbors who are, when I have these meetings. Last season before hypothermia, for example, I do this and I meet in church basements and wherever else. And there's lots of concerns, and in none of those have they bore fruit. Now, with that said, That's not always the case. And when that isn't the case, we have several ways of engagement. When hypothermia season opens up, we will give a phone number at DHS and at the provider and at the provider's provider at TCP, who oversees the continuum of care, which is our term for the shelter system. There will be contacts for people to reach out and engage if there's something going on. The second thing is this building won't be as big as the other building either. So a good number of the building residents that are going to be in that swing space will be people who are not only not hypothermia, but also not low barrier and be at a higher level in transitional shelters. So you're not going to see, hopefully our anticipation is you won't see the same number of people who are going to be using those hypothermia beds as you did when the men were in the Pat Handy space. So it's going to be, we're going to have to monitor that and work with the community on that. And I think we've got a highlighter. There's a highlighter on that in my office too. So I understand.
Awesome. And I just wanted to say that the N Street Village folks have been really great to work with on the 11th Street location. They have been very open to suggestions, having community feedback, et cetera. So there's a really great provider there for them. I couldn't say that for the men's location that was in the Pat Handy shelter, because even when contacts were asked for, like who's running the shelter, et cetera.
Yeah,
we had tremendous problems with that.
I will say you will have a contact with DHS with this building. In all fairness to our provider, that was because of that construction, it never really was intended to be used in the way that it ultimately was used. That's a different scenario that we're talking about now. We know who's going in, we know who's running it. And so I expect that you'll see the same level of engagement from the N Street Village people that you do now. It's literally the same people.
Awesome.
Yep.
Final thing. We're fine. One.
I'm happy to distribute them.
And I'm happy to point out David's email is attached to them. So if you do have any further questions about how to engage the community, we are trying to be as open and as transparent as we can. Once the program opens up, you'll have my email at that point too. But so David and I will switch places. But,
I've got one last question.
Sure.
For
Hang on one second.
Sure.
That is my email address. I don't know why we didn't put our phone number on here. Like my phone number is on bathrooms throughout the entire district. And I'm told people share it. 202-299-5549. I can add it to my communication. That's the operator. That's acceptable. But we want you to know who to call. And if you don't know who to call us and we'll do it.
Yep.
And Chief of Staff Ross is very responsive to his emails. I will absolutely. That's one of the things that is really great about working with him. He gets back to you.
Yeah,
for sure. Thomas, you had a question? You're on mute.
How much influence would the operators have on what goes out on the street? I know that one of the issues with the Pat Handy shelter was that, once people are outside, or there's a lot of loitering around in front of the shelter, and people were preying on the women inside. Is there any thought on how to better protect the vulnerable?
So I'll answer that in a couple ways. First, the reality is the the providers and the security officers that provide security for the buildings really are limited to the building itself with respect to security. That is not something that we choose or not choose. That's just the way the law is written. With that said, our providers they can engage clients anywhere, and we have, when you're outside the building, you have two levels of engagement, because there's no, if you're out in front of the building, certainly the in-street village or whomever can engage. But if you say go too far away from the building, we have another provider that does outreach in this area. Pathways is yet another provider that DHS contracts to do street outreach. And they know most people by name who you see outside. If someone's outside who's new, the Pathways people will engage in, who are you? How are you? What's going on? What do you need? And so if folks are find themselves outside the building, there will always be that level of engagement. With respect to security, when you get to the new Pat Handy building, before and no doubt going into the future, we work also very closely with MPD. And so if it's a criminal matter or a matter of something of safety outside the premises of the building, we do what you would do, and we work closely with the police department. If the matter involves the residents as the sort of, I don't know, the instigator of whatever it is, we have town halls. So we will meet with the women, we meet with the men, the in-street village will have town halls. DHS has been known, I've gone to town halls where we go floor by floor by floor by floor and tell folks, hey, listen, you're a neighbor here, you live here, they live here. You are integrated in this community. You don't want them to be, you don't want your neighbors to be a menace to you. Don't be a menace to your neighbors either. So we try to encourage folks to do the right thing so that you don't have the kinds of problems that I think people anticipate, especially in these shelters that are permanently built.
Terrific. Thank you all so very much for your presentation this evening. We really appreciate you being here and your transparency. And I think that the more that community members learn about the process, I think the better. So thank you so much for being here. Appreciate it very much.
First time we have created 5-year goals about improvement. Building feedback from our constituents, customers, residents, our services. So what you will see in the coming fiscal year is outreach. Before we bought the building, here we come. So we're listening and we're making progress. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see what I can do here. All right. Oopsies. Womp womp. I can stick it back in there. Okay. Here we go. All right. Next up we have Lucas. I see that you're on.
Yes, I am. How's it going, everyone?
Awesome. We have the downtown DC bid, the director of public space operations.
Awesome. I'm going to share my screen. I have a couple slides to show. The first one will be this one right here. Just want to talk about some clean and safe stats from May. In the month of May, we collected over 4,400 bags, which is the equivalent of about 30,000 pounds of trash. This is just in the Chinatown Penn Quarter corridor. Removing more than 200 stickers, posters, graffiti, no parking signs. Obviously, this number is skewed. It's definitely a lot higher than this, because if we remove 20 parking signs from a street, we just count that as one. We had our safety team complete over 5,500 checkpoints, which are essentially areas that we designated as an area of importance. And we completed over 648 routes.
We had 1,679 man hours of personnel hours that we've dedicated to the Chinatown corridor, and that's for street sweeping, trash removal, power washing programs, and our street team that you see out and about. And then we've done over 230 business wellness checks. That's where our staff goes in just to make sure that our stakeholders are doing well and if they need any support from us. That's the data that we collected from May. We're going to continue to really improve the data that we provide. I think this will give people awareness of the work that we're doing around the area that impacts all of us. Please email me directly if you have any areas of concern, any areas that need any attention. That our role here is to really create a safe and clean, vibrant downtown. And we take that very seriously. And I'm going to share our next screen. Let me here. Give me 1 second while I'm going to share what I am sharing with you right now. Can you guys see the murals that are there?
You can see that. Yes.
This is a project that we did. This is an area on the 600 block of East Street. It's a building that's been vacant for a few years there. A lot of concerns around what that building looked like. We put a lot of focus and we listened to our stakeholders and area and individuals that live or work in that area. And we worked with a local artist. His name is Luther Wright, and he pretty much did in a mural. There's 10 of them. There's 2 left to do that really made up that entire street storefront of the building. It really has changed the feel of this block. And we think that art can be used as a beautification tool. And we feel that this is a way to really change the perception and the feel of particular blocks. It's something the BID is really looking into doing more of. So if you have areas that you think that art would be a great beautification tool, please email me. And we could figure out a way or what type of project would be good for that area. And those were and I'm sure everyone has talked about the moped. I guess bringing in some type of enforcement around mopeds. I've seen a huge difference in the area already. Hopefully this is the beginning to be able to keep this under control. And I thought that was a great win for the area.
Totally agree. Commissioners, do you have any questions for Lucas? Community members? Awesome. Thank you so much, Lucas. We appreciate you.
Thank you. Have a great one, everyone. Be safe.
We will now move forward with our
Michael, I'm sorry. This is Thomas. My mute was on. I have a quick question for Lucas before he goes.
Yeah.
Lucas, thank you so much for all the hard work you're doing, especially down here in Penn Quarter and Chinatown. I do notice that many of the planters have like holes in them. I guess they're rat nests. Is there any way for and I don't even know if this is going to be even helpful, but is there any way for your staff to disrupt those nests in any way, or is that something for a different department of the city? And when I mean disrupt, I mean simply means to break the nest or to break the openings, to tamp down the soil so that we don't have all these holes that are in the tree planters.
So that's a great question. Obviously, the rodent issue around the Chinatown Penn Quarter area is extremely concerning. We are working closely with DOH rodent control to address these areas of concern. We are a bunch of the tree planters around Capital One. Part of the redoing the planters will be putting concrete and mesh at the bottom of the planters, which will prevent the rodents from going up and down. And those are the things we're doing right now to address those issues. Obviously, trash collection, being more diligent about that will help those issues. Continuing to power wash sidewalks and streets around restaurants will help with those things. And I think it's just going to take continuous efforts by the bid and DOH to really improve that. Also, with construction, a lot of the construction in the area, all that does is move the rodents around, and they're trying to find homes, right? So I think that's the challenge we're dealing with right now, to really improve that element.
Great. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
We'll now move forward with local events that impact the community. First up is Word Beats and Life Art Project, Public Art Project. And this is requesting a letter of support from the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities. Matsi, are you still on with us?
Yep. Mazin Mutapa, Executive Director at Words, Beats, and Life. Hopefully you can hear me. I've had to transition to my car to remain in the meeting. Words, Beats, and Life is a 22-year-old hip-hop nonprofit in Washington, D.C. We've done a number of things, some of which you might be familiar with. One of the most recent was partnering with the Downtown Bid to host Jazz and Blossoms as a part of the Cherry Blossom Festival. Also working with the Downtown Bid to do the mural at the VA. We were also the lead arts consultant for the Murals DC project for 5 years. We're preparing to submit a proposal to the DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities to do a call box project that is partially in partly in your ANC and in a second ANC. The second ANC has already given us a letter of support. It was actually at that meeting that they pointed out some of the boxes are in your ANC. And so I'm glad I could be added to this agenda. I sent along the artwork. I'm not sure if you're able to share it on the screen.
I will pull that up.
The long and the short is the project is called The Past Present, working with 11 muralists to do restoration of 11 call boxes in the downtown footprint that include the creation of those, what you could call miniature murals on those call boxes, but also training a set of young people to do a walking tour of those call boxes. I guess let me know once you, I guess I'll see once you put the artwork up on the screen.
I'm sorry, I am digging here. Oh, here it is. I think this is the artwork. Was this forwarded by Chris Hart?
I think so.
Yeah, okay. The ANC 6 mural, is that the art? Oh, that's the letter. I'm sorry. The past work. Is that what you're showing?
Called The Past is Present.
Past is present.
Yeah. First page is white.
Yep, you got it. I'm gonna share here in a second. Sorry.
No problem.
Not having my equipment work tonight is a little challenging. Okay, here we go. Okay, it should be up there now for you.
Yep. So the first couple of slides just describe the project, and do you want to go to the next slide?
Yes.
So it names the fact that the Downtown Bid, when we originally developed this project, it was a collaboration with the downtown bid. They had a change in leadership, and so we decided to move forward with this project on our own. So we have a reference here of a call box project that they did, just as a frame of reference. Theirs was around 8 particular women. We can go to the next slide. This is just talking about the partnership, the work that we've done in the downtown region, mostly with the downtown bid, to things like the activation of Chinatown Park, which we did for 3 years, and then a pop-up series of workshops around the downtown footprint. We can keep going. Oh, that's a photo of the mural at the TA. So this is a quick description of the project. Sorry, I'm reading and
Yeah,
while I'm in the
don't
car.
read it at the same time.
So you all can see what's written there. I don't know if anybody's willing to read it for me, but this is the footprint of the program.
Yep, go ahead.
You can keep going. It's okay. This is the footprint of where the call boxes are, and as I said, they're in between 2 ANCs, and the other ANC has already given us a letter of support. We can go to the next slide. So this is one done by an artist by the name of Sita Sadali. She's a very popular artist in this area. She was the one that did the mural on the Women's History Museum, the design that was hung outside. Keep going. I just want to tell you what some of these artists have done. This is Rico, who's also paints under the name Maspaz, More Peace. He has several pieces around the city, very popular artist. He generally works in black and white. Next slide, please. This is a design done by Juan Pineda. He's done around the city. In the downtown area, he's done a number on those cement, I don't know, barriers that people put around the streeteries. So he's done a bunch of projects like that. You can keep going. This is Ernesto. He is a young person who graduated from our program probably 10 years ago, and this was the design that he submitted. He's done a number of commission pieces around the city, especially in restaurants. We can keep going. This is Rose Jaffe. She is a fine artist who has done a number of murals around the city, usually depicting people. She did a project at the shelter downtown, but she has a lot of, any of these artists you'd be able to look up. They have huge portfolios of work, but we can keep going. Rose Jaffe. This is John. His primary job is he's one of the folks that works at Trader Joe's doing those cartoon boards that are inside telling people where to go buy, but he's done several murals all over the city. This is Assad Walker. This is a tribute callbox to Cool Disco Dan, who's a legendary graffiti artist in DC who had a day named for him by the mayor when he passed. This is a tribute callbox. Next up. This is Eric B. Ricks. He's done several several murals around the city, especially incorporating hummingbirds and flowers. He also one of his specialties is when he's finished with a project, he takes the aerosol cans that were used to do the painting to create roses out of them, which is the rose that you see in the center of the callback. You can keep going. This is Hamilton Glass. He's a Richmond-based artist. He's done a number of murals through the Murals DC project in DC, particularly east of the river. You can go next. And this is Isaiah Crow. He is based in San Diego. He'd be the only artist out from outside of the region. We've done a ton of work with him here in the United States and in Brazil and in, I feel like that's the only country, but he's got a ton of work as well. Jamila Okubo is also an alumni of our program. Recently featured in a Walmart commercial during the Super Bowl because she was one African-American creator who they took into residence to do more work. She's also done murals at places like Facebook in DC. So she's a prolific fine artist. Shani Shi, who is another fine artist based here in DC, who has done a number of projects with us, including a ground mural that we did in Noma. She's been a part of multiple paint events that we've had at the Kennedy Center. Of all the people, she has fewer murals, but she's a really amazing artist. So the grant is due in July of 2024. We would get notice in September, October. We would begin the paint removal in between November and April, because all of the call boxes are covered with lead-based paint. So there's a company we'd have to hire to be able to come in and do that work. They'd also prime and repair them. Between April and June, we would actually do the painting and unveiling in July next year as a part of our festival on the National Mall.
Great. Awesome. Question. These are all existing call boxes in the city. Do you remove them to do the cleanup, or
no? It's done on site.
It's all done on site. Okay, and the artist comes out and does the painting there on site.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's great. Totally awesome. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Community members, any questions? I think this is a great project. And thank you for bringing this to Chinatown Penn Quarter. It's awesome. I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for Word, Beats, and Life Public Arts Project.
Second.
All those in favor? 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. We will get a letter off to you. When is your grant due?
July.
Okay, we'll get that off in the next within the next week for you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you being here tonight.
Right.
Next up, we have DC Bike Ride 24 for Saturday, September 7th, 2024, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Diane Romo Thomas. Are you with us, Diane?
I am.
Hi, Diane. How are you?
Hi, it's good to see everybody again.
Good to see you.
I know you guys are very familiar with this event. This is a very cool event. It's the DC Bike Ride. I think it's about in the 7th year that the bike ride's been going on in DC. It's Saturday, September 7th. If you remember, this used to be in May. We've moved it to September. It just seemed to be work the last couple of years in September. So it will be Saturday, September 7th. It's 20 miles of car-free, safe streets in the city, and it's a ride. It's not a race. It's a ride. So it's young, old, middle, dogs, I mean, kids, everybody. So it's a really cool event. You guys are very familiar with it. You used to host the start line in this ANC, and then we moved it to West Potomac, but it's back. It's back along Constitution between 12th and 7th Street is where the start line will be. And then you've also hosted the finish line, which is at 3rd and Pennsylvania. So that will be again in place. It's a pretty quick event. It starts at 8 a.m. and we wrap up at about 12 noon. The musical stage faces south. It's at the corner of 3rd and right north of 3rd and Pennsylvania. And it faces south away from, most of your ANC there. It's a great event. I don't know how much detail. Something cool he just recently did, though. I'll just share this with you so you might have seen it. DC Bike Ride partnered with DC Public Schools in their Department of Health and Physical Education and gave out 210 bicycles to kids in Southeast, out Kenilworth Parkside, and helmets, locks, and passes to ride the race this year. So we're hoping to get all those kids out there. It's part of their curriculum about bike safety and starting young and really kind of getting kids educated on, bicycling, helmet safety. And I think it was a great event. And a couple of things, the WABA has been a past nonprofit that have worked with the event, Fit DC. So a couple of these folks that you guys are very familiar with here in the city. I can go on, but commissioners, if you need any more information, I'm happy to talk more.
Commissioners, do you have any questions? Any community questions? I think it's great that you did the bike giveaway in Lux and you're inviting them to participate. That is totally awesome.
Teachers, families, everybody. So we hope you get them out.
That's amazing. I would like to move that we send a letter of support for DC Bike Ride 24. Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. All those in favor? 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. We will get that letter off to you and the mayor's office shortly.
Thank you guys so much. Thank you, commissioners.
Thank you so much. Next up, we have the DC Holiday Market by Diverse Markets Management, Michael Berman, President. Mr. Berman.
You like? My name's Michael Berman. I'm the president of Diverse Markets Management. Our company runs several events and markets around the region. And for the past 19 years, we have been the coordinator, manager, organizer, curator, and creator of the Downtown Holiday Market. There you go.
Yep, there he is.
And this year, for the 20th year, Diverse Markets Management intends to produce the event by ourselves, not with our partner, the downtown DC bid. And we think we are well equipped to provide the event as we always have in a safe and secure manner. And if we do that, it would be starting on Friday, November 15th. And would run daily through Monday, December 23rd from 8 to 12, from 12 to 8. We would be closed on Thanksgiving Day and Monday, December 2nd. And it would again operate on the 700 and 800 block of F Street Northwest. We have approximately 65 to 70 tents. Audience seating, food booths, a stage for entertainment on the wide sidewalk of F Street in front of the National Portrait Museum. And on the Monday, December 2nd, our closed day, that's for turnover, so we can get more vendors participating, more exhibitors in the show. We hope to have about 100 exhibitors total. And our program would consist precisely how we've done it before. We have a strong working relationship with the businesses and the stakeholders around us. And we think we can provide an excellent event that meshes seamlessly into the neighborhood and provide a great venue for the residents and for the city as a whole. So we would really appreciate your support in doing that.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And amazing that this is the 20th year. It's one of my favorite events downtown, the holiday market. Commissioners, do you have any questions regarding the holiday market?
Is there anything different this year compared to last year?
Not on the surface, no.
Okay.
We would have the same number of performances, 3 performances a day. We would have festive decor. We would have robust exhibitor and artist participation. And we would promote it as we always do. And we would work closely with the hotels and restaurants around us to make sure that they benefit from the event and aren't harmed by activities that would overwhelm anyone downtown.
Terrific. Any community questions?
I had no pleasure in reading the Washington Post today related to this event and the attempt by the bid director to circumvent this program and your efforts with it for 20 years by bringing in a new vendor from the Boston area somewhere. And I noticed that we didn't ask any questions of the bid person who was talking earlier. But I fully support you in your position to continue operating those. I wonder what happened.
Thank you for your concern. I think we all wonder what the heck happened because it doesn't make any sense to any of us. And from an administration and a city that champions small business and local businesses. I neglected to mention our company has been around for 20 years. We're a CBE. We're a small business, but we employ more than 40 individuals, most of which are DC residents. And so it hurts a lot that they would choose to go in a different direction. But even the licensing for doing something like this requires what's called a market manager's license and other certifications that you have to be located in DC to acquire. So I'm not sure how they're going about, and they haven't been transparent in what they're planning to present. So for the good of the neighborhood, I felt it's necessary that we move forward to try and present it ourselves and make sure it serves the city as it always has.
And well, it's just something that it reminds me in some ways about the knowledge that people had about Monumental pulling out of DC. We went to several meetings. It was never mentioned. And they knew about it, all this, for days ahead of time. And yet it wasn't mentioned. This is another one of those issues that they obviously chose not to bring up. And they could have, but it's just unfortunate that you have your position here with 20 years, 19 years of wonderful service. And with all the people that you included within your realm of this program, and they're trying to usurp those people and confuse those people.
Yes.
I hope that doesn't.
Well, thank you.
But I wouldn't have known about that had it
not raised.
appeared in the paper.
There's a lot of small businesses and DC-based artisans that are really need that livelihood, that their livelihood derives from that market. And they're the ones that are going to be hurt the most if there's a change.
Right.
Thank you.
And the many donuts were back.
And the donuts.
Yes, the donuts, the good donuts.
Just add, your letter of support would be crucial to protecting this. And it's a range of, we're talking about the small businesses, DC-based small businesses that are supported by the holiday market. And then on the flip side, it is international in scope. So you sit there and you look at other venues like Nuremberg, Washington is right there. It's our neighborhood. We need to protect it. And Mike and his company brings in 19 years of expertise and all the business ties to put it on. So we just need to continue.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. I would like to move that we send a letter of support for the DC holiday market by Diverse Markets Management.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. All those in favor? 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. We will send that letter off. Commissioners, I would also like to request that we send a letter to the bid questioning this decision on why you would move away from a local DC-based organization and give this to somebody who's out of town in this decision, and how that to me seems very similar to other things that have happened with the bid not being transparent. I would like to move that I send that letter. Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. All those in favor? So 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that letter. So we'll send that letter off as well. We did ask Mr. Jaron Price to present to us in June, in May and June. And we have not solidified a date for that. To talk about the priorities of the bid in the future, and how they are engaging residents and transforming downtown. So that is an open invitation for him, and we will ask him to come back and talk about that at our next meeting too. Okay, thank you so
all
much
for your support.
Most definitely.
Please know you have full support of the city center congregants.
Thank you.
Residents of the area.
Thank you. And I'd be happy to meet with any of you or, bring you into anything we can do. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. We would like to now move on to alcoholic beverage cannabis licensing. First up is 4-5 Big House LLC, which is the trade name 4-5 Coffee Roasters at 901 K Street Northwest. This is APCA 120762. Do I have anybody representing the establishment?
You do. Good evening, commissioners. This is Andreas Akaris. I'm an attorney with Bregman, Burbage, Schwartz, and Gilday. As well online is Joe Reganes, who's a principal with 4-5 with the company.
Hi there. Welcome.
Yeah, I want to tell you guys this evening's ANC is the hottest show in town. I'm calling in from Madrid, and it's about 2:15 a.m. here. So
oh my,
I hope I'm speaking English at this point.
You are speaking English. You are speaking
Okay.
English. But thank you for hanging in there with us.
Sure thing, sure thing. So I don't know if some of you are familiar with 4-5 or not, but it's a quality coffee roaster that also sells wholesale to many accounts throughout the country. And then there is now a significant retail arm, and they have been expanding in Washington, D.C., and this will be the 9th location in the D.C. area. So from Virginia to Washington, D.C. And the past few years, the latest sort of format of the 4-5 retail outlet has it's coffee and light fare, sort of like a brunchy food quality, what have you. And Joe can far better explain that. And here at 901K will be one of the locations that will also have, as an amenity to the coffee and food sales, this application for a liquor license or alcohol beverage license. I don't know if any of you have visited the locations, because I think they speak for themselves.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'd like to open up to questions, frankly. Mm-hmm.
Sure. So
okay.
You are going to be looking to do is it like a full bar kind of setting, or what are we looking at here?
No, it's a full coffee and eating establishment, mostly coffee, and the alcohol will be really more like an amenity. So not sort of if you're imagining an Adams Morgan bar or something like that, we're talking completely different universe.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. And you're also looking, this would be for the hours of operation for the alcohol service would be 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. That would also involve carryout and delivery and the sidewalk cafe. outside.
Right, but not delivery. The only reason delivery is on the endorsement is because the carryout delivery endorsement is combined.
Got
So
it.
there will only be carryout, and we are not applying for the delivery, but the endorsement is combined. Mhm.
Got it. That is terrific. You
Mhm.
might want to come over. Commissioners, Commissioner Strauss.
I have no questions. Thomas, do you have any questions? I guess not.
Hi, this is Thomas. I don't have any questions either. I've seen I've ridden my bike past the patio, and I think it looks great. I've not stopped in though, but I intend to do so at my next opportunity. I really hope that that patio takes off. I think it looks. I think you guys have done a great job with the way it looks.
Great. Yeah, make sure you bring people. Everyone wants coffee, and you can get some
Absolutely.
alcohol while you're at it as well. A glass of wine.
Awesome.
And do you have Wi-Fi there?
Yeah, no, there will be Wi-Fi.
Good.
Mhm.
Good.
I'd like to move that we send a letter of support for 4-5 Bakehouse. I don't know what just happened.
Second, I think that was my fault.
Oh, that was your fault. Okay, gotcha. That was seconded by Commissioner Strauss. So we will get that letter of support off. Do you need a stipulated license?
If you want to, we don't need it, but stipulating meaning you're not going to oppose anything, sure, we'll take that.
No, that you could open before the protest period ends.
Yes, we've already applied in that fashion. The only thing remaining is the certificate of occupancy, which should be coming in shortly. No, we have that. Joe, didn't we just get the certificate of occupancy?
We have the certificate of occupancy that's ready to go, so this is the last step.
Okay, yeah.
Got
Okay.
it. So I'd like to move that we also send a letter of support for a stipulated license for this establishment.
You have to second that?
Yep.
Second that.
I second. I third.
Seconded by Commissioner
Right.
Strauss. All those in favor?
Right.
So 3 of 3 say aye, Thomas, or nay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. We're good. Okay. So
All right,
is voting in favor of that. Go to bed.
Thank you. I was going to say thank you so much for making this so quickly. I'm out and look forward to seeing you at 4-5.
Fabulous. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Next up is Gersha 2023 LLC, Gersha Ethiopian Cuisine at 1195 20th Street Northwest. This is for a new retailer's Class C restaurant license. It's APCA 127797. Ooh, is anybody representing the establishment? Okay, this is an establishment. This protest period will end before our next ANC meeting. So I just want to get this. Let me see here what I did here. I don't have that for some reason. I have no opposition to this. Do we just wish to remain silent?
Downtown. I think that's the right neighborhood for something like that, so.
Yep, downtown,
I'd say let's approve.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Letter to send, motion to approve. Motion to
It's been a long night.
send a letter of support
Thanks, Nancy.
for Gersha Ethiopian Cuisine. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by
I
Commissioner C. All those in favor? 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. Awesome. Sorry about that. Next up is 1306 G Street Investors LLC, Astro Beer Garden at 1310 G Street Northwest. This is for a substantial change to the retailer's Class C license. This is related to the introduction of 5 consoles for games of chance. This is related to Edge. They list 2 items here for us. Is someone representing the establishment? The 2 items that they are recommended that they're planning to install is Edge District of Skill by Pace-O-Matic. They were introduce these 5 consoles into
Like
their
video game things,
video games that you can win
money.
at.
Oh, it's like,
or
oh, it's a
points.
gambling thing.
It's a gambling kind of piece. A
Right,
game
right,
of
but
chance.
so we decide on
We can send a letter of support for that, yes.
this? I don't really care.
So I would like to move that we send a letter of support for Astro Beer Hall.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. All those in favor? 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. We'll move forward to transportation and public space. Our last item this evening, we have parking removal along Massachusetts Avenue and the installation of no turn on red signs at the intersection of 15th Street Northwest and Massachusetts Avenue Northwest. And this is an NOI 24110-TESD. Is anybody from GDOT on with us?
Yeah, I'm here. This is George Guerrera.
Hey, George, how are you?
I'm good. My camera is not working, so sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. I appreciate you being here. I understand your technical difficulties, believe me. And thank you for hanging in with us this evening. Do you want to talk about this this process?
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen.
Please.
Okay. Do you see my screen?
Yes, we see your screen.
Yeah, so this is the safety improvement at Massachusetts Avenue and 15th Street. My name is George Guerrera. I'm a transportation engineer from DDAT. So I'm going to talk about why we are doing this. So on January 15, 2023, the tragic crash happened at this intersection that resulted fatality. So the SUV traveling eastbound on Mass Avenue and a sedan traveling westbound and turning left to 15th Street had a crash, and as a result of this crash, an adult man tragically lost his life. And also in this crash, there was other injuries, like 5 passengers and 2 drivers had some minor injuries. Typically, DDAT and MPD discuss such kind of crashes. After like such kind of tragic crash, we meet with the Vision Zero team, MPD, and to discuss the dynamics of the crash and potential safety improvement. We coordinate if there is any active project to add on the additional safety improvement we propose. If there is no project, we will propose a new safety improvement. Mainly, the goal of this safety improvement is to learn from the dynamics of each crash and work to prevent similar crashes in the future. And also, in addition to that, we look holistically at the location for any multimodal safety treatment, not limited to the dynamics of the crash. So basically for this, we also look into the crash trend in the area. In addition to the specific fatal crash, in the last 3 years at this intersection, Mass and 15s, there was a total of 18 crashes. And out of those 18 crashes, 11 resulted in injuries. And 7 of those injuries happened during that fatal crash. And also there is a bike crash that result injury, one bike crash. Majority of the crash in this location is the crash types are left turn, rear end, and side swipe crash. So basically, we're trying to look into holistically in terms of like avoiding this kind of crash happening at this intersection. So this improvement basically in response to the fatal crash, a crash trend, and other multimodal improvement, we look in at the 15th and Mass Avenue. So when you get into the improvements, first, we try to somehow extend the median on the East Lake, where we're trying to have some kind of paint and flex post so that the left turn traffic somehow slow down when they turn to 15th Street. We're also proposing no turn on red on both approach on westbound and northbound 15th. And we're also looking into adding bike crossing. That's for a two-way bike on southbound on 15th, that the cycle track, and also looking into like some queue box and adding a bike crossing for east connection to 14th Street. We're also refreshing the existing marking. Some of the marking are faded. At this location, we're adding some like yield line and signs and some guidance in terms of like the lane configuration. Those signs will be there, and then also refreshing the existing lane line markings, and also daylighting on the north side. And in addition to that, we're adding some reflective backplating on the signal head so that we will have improved signal visibility approaching the intersection. The other major part is like connecting the bike lane, the protected bike lane on east connection of the 15th Street with the 14th Street. So we're proposing a protected bike lane on Mass Avenue, going through Mass and then the slip lane and getting to Thomas Circle. So in doing that, we're going to take some parking space. On Mass Avenue, the existing parking space is restricted only on Sunday from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. So we're going to take that parking space and then change it to a protected bike lane. So when you get to the slip lane, on the slip lane, this lane is a peak hour restricted parking from Monday to Friday for both AM and PM peak. So our proposal is to remove this parking space and then change it to a protected bike lane so that we'll have an east connection of the bike lane from 15th to the Thomas Circle. Those are the improvements we're proposing, and the NOI is for this parking removal. We try to coordinate with ANC before and the downtown beat in terms of like removal of parking and then the no turn no red and the additional is improvement. So we get a response from ANC, but we're still waiting from the bid. I believe the bid Lucas already contacted to the hotel next to this parking space to get their feedback. So we still have time. The deadline for submission of comment is July 3rd.
Got it.
So that's all I have. If you have any question, you can, or any comment, you can send to me through this email. Thank you.
How many parking spaces are you removing?
I believe it's around like 12 parking space.
Yeah, I can't think of the hotel. Oh, is that
Yes, this is the location, so I can share. So this is the space where
That's the
so
whole.
the peak hour restriction will be from here to here. So it's about 200 feet. So that will be around 10 parking space.
And parking.
Have you talked to the
Yeah.
homeowners association that's right there?
Yeah, so we sent to the downtown bid to communicate, I mean, to check with them in terms of this. So we still didn't get any response.
Do they have their own underground parking in London?
I don't know. They probably do.
Could you show me the map of the intersection again?
The plan.
Yeah, I guess it's your fourth slide there.
Okay.
Where are the no turns going?
So the no turn rate will be, so this sign here for the westbound approach, and then another one for the northbound approach here. This sign is a no turn on rate.
This is
So it would
coming out of
be-
the tunnel.
So you can't turn right here. If
Oh,
you're parked
okay.
here,
Got it.
and then you can't turn right here.
Yeah, that's a terrible
Yeah.
turn there. Yeah, okay.
Makes sense.
Makes sense to me. I would like to move that we send a letter of support for this GDOT project.
Yep, second.
Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. All those in favor? So three commissioners voting in favor of that. George, will get that off to you.
George, I have a quick question. How did that accident occur again? Like, could you show me?
Okay, let me share the screen again. So the accident happened, do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the accident happened between an SUV going eastbound and then a left turning traffic going
Oh, I see.
westbound and then turning left to 15th Street. So it's like
Oh,
a
I see.
T-bone. Currently, this
Oh.
movement is restricted, peak hour restricted, the left turn. So the accident happened just after 15 minutes from the restriction.
I see.
Yeah.
And we did have one question that came up in the room with us.
Not this intersection, but 13th in Massachusetts. I just wonder what the accident means there. Because cars coming up from the tunnel up don't always like stop there for people walking. And that's, again, my seniors,
Yeah.
neighbors, use that intersection all the time to get to the streets market.
Right.
We don't necessarily see people coming up out of the tunnel.
Right.
I wonder what the pedestrian accident they consider that.
Sure. We can get that. We can find that for our, she was asking about pedestrian
Or just
accidents occurring at 13th
in Massachusetts.
in Massachusetts.
Oh.
So this is not related to this NOI, but it's something that we can definitely just look into. Yeah, the tunnel, right?
Yeah, I think we can look at that and then get back to her.
Sure.
So 13th.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, George. We appreciate it.
All right, thank
for
you.
hanging in there with us.
Okay.
We have no other items on the agenda tonight. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, July 9th at 6 p.m. Hopefully we'll have things working by then. Thank you all so much for being with us tonight. I would like to move that we adjourn our meeting.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Strauss. And all those in favor, 3 of 3 commissioners voting in favor of that. Thanks so much. Everyone have a great night. And again, I apologize for our technical difficulties. Take care.